The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
1420 Sports Bar Podcast. For beer, the sports talk, and a whole lot more. Join host Brent Radlinson as he bellies up to the bar and gets the conversations going that'll make you think you're sitting in your local watering hole. It's sports, beer, and shenanigans. So sit back, grab a few beers, and let's get into it. All right, the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast, for beer, sports talk, and a whole lot more on this Saturday morning, October the 5th, 2014. Today's show, as always, is brought to you by SeatGeek.com, the SeatGeek app. Use our all-new promo code 1420SEAT. That's 142 SEAT at SeatGeek.com today and save yourself $20 on your first purchase. It's going to take me a little bit of time to get used to that one. The other code got compromised a little bit, so we had to change things up, and but that's what it is. Thanks to SeatGeek for being understanding over this past week and getting it all straightened out for the foreseeable future and everything else. Nice conversation with people over there at SeatGeek. I'm going to say that again. We are part of the Belly Up Media Network. Go to bellyupsports.com for all of their great articles and other great podcasts, such as the Corner Booth podcast, which I was a part of on Thursday night for your 300th episode. A lot of fun there with Jared and the guys. And then the Sports Stove podcast, Sweet Sounds of Vince Stover. And the guys obviously over at Craft Brewed Sports, my favorite show on Tuesday nights. Thanks to all those who also listened to the Bullhorn Lepers Bulls report earlier on this week, the Tuesday and Wednesday we did that. Good to get those year-end awards out there and get the Bullhorn going. Pretty good response to the podcast and onto the YouTube video as well. Well, here it is. It's the most wonderful time of the year for a baseball fan. You can geek right out and everything else. The Major League Baseball playoffs, they really get rolling today with the divisional series that all four get going today. Cleveland, Detroit. You got the Royals and the Yankees, the Mets and the Phillies, and the Padres and Dodgers later on tonight. No, in no specific order there, but it should be really interesting to see how they all pan out. I don't think there's any real forerunner in these playoffs. We'll get to my predictions and thoughts and shots about that a little bit later on. But the way Major League Baseball has this thing set up, they once again they always find a way to trip on themselves and make it not very exciting for the fans and make it almost impossible for fans to watch it. Not only in Canada but the United States as well. I was listening to a show earlier on this week about that. They couldn't find a certain game and they're trying to find some kind of app how it could all work out. Just find me the game. Here it is, and it'll just show up on my TV. You don't got to hunt for it because it's impossible to find certain networks because they have certain places they want to play the games, and on it goes. But it's really funny. Like here in Canada, we couldn't even watch the games on the app. I tried to tune in. I was at work. I couldn't get away like I thought I could the other day. I had a lot of stuff to get going on there at Spit Stadium. But didn't have so I pressed on the app, figured I could find the game, but no, it wasn't there on MLB.com or MLB app, whatever you want to call it this week. It was an absolute disgrace that Major League Baseball finds a way to do this, finds a way to trip on their dinks week in, week out, no matter what. Play the game so people can see the damn things. People want to watch, but sometimes, they have jobs and things where they can't. So and baseball is such a regional game. And I liken it a lot to college football, where college football has a bunch of big games all day Saturday, no matter what. They don't stagger them like the odd one, the Georgia, Alabama one. Obviously, it gets precedence like it did last week, but they play the games when they're supposed to be played. The tradition's there. So play this game here, play this game there. You're not getting new fans jumping around to watch different teams. If you're a fan of the Kansas City Royals and the game is on at 5 o'clock Central time or Eastern time or wherever it might be, put it on at that same time. People are used to doing that. They have set their schedules to do it that way. The way baseball tries to stagger it, having a game at 11 in the morning on a Tuesday, who the hell can watch that? Not a lot of people. Stands weren't full. They're in Baltimore. They weren't full. Put the games on so people can watch them. Make sure the fans can watch the game, not only on TV, but in the building. It's ridiculous that they do this every damn year. Put it on so people can watch it. 25 times 0 is 0. Just because you have more eyeballs that are able to watch, that are able to see the game, not watch it, able to see it because it's on a certain time during the day. You figure that, like Major League Baseball figures that people are going to have taken time out of their work schedules to go and watch it. They can't do that. I don't know if you guys know this. People have jobs where they can't do that. If you're a construction guy, if you're a lawyer in a law firm and you have a case, if whatever it might be, if you work in a bakery, if you work wherever, you can't just have have a baseball game on. Have it on at the times that people can watch it so they can watch their team. If it coincides with the same time the San Diego Padres are playing on the West Coast, who cares? You do it all season long, so let people watch it. They aren't tuning, like a Baltimore Orioles fan probably isn't watching the Padres game that starts at 11 o'clock at night anyways. So put the damn game on when they can watch it. It is so stupid that Major League Baseball thinks that they try to reinvent the wheel all the time. Have the games on all at once so people can watch them. They're going to pick and choose which ones they're going to watch anyways. So give them a chance to watch the damn thing, would you? It is so asinine the way that Major League Baseball finds a way to trip on themselves week in, week out with these series that started at, and then, okay, if you only play in 2 games, are you actually in the playoffs? It's better than the 1-game playoffs, and I understand why you want the wild card. I totally understand. The wild card's been around since '95, I think it is. So it is a thing. It's not going away. But are you really in the playoffs if you get 2 more games and the frickin' Chicago White Sox lost 122 games this year? I know it keeps people interested throughout the season. I know it's a thing where people have a chance to their teams are more involved in it. Their teams have a chance to make it on the last day of the season. I get it. And it brings eyeballs to a sport that is dwindling because when the NFL comes on, nobody cares. So you got to find a way to keep eyeballs on the thing. But are you really getting a playoff experience in October rain or whatever they say, run to October, all those damn shirts, the exact same thing? It's ridiculous. Like they need a marketing program that's a lot better than they got. But it's I don't know if you're in an actual, do you feel like you're in the playoffs after 2 games? That's twice in 2 years Baltimore's done that. Have they felt like a playoff team? Do they feel like a playoff contender? No, probably not. The fans probably don't. The fans don't. And then if you're a road team who doesn't even get a home game, like Detroit's going to have one now in this next round, and they had watch parties. But are you even if you lost 2 games in a row and you go, okay, well that was fun, I guess. I guess that was all right. Like the Mets series went 3, and that was exciting the way that all turned out for the Mets and pitching matchups. Managers, can you please stop protecting these guys? Because you need to make a pitching change after 70 pitches in the 7th inning. It almost cost the Mets that series because they had to save a guy for later. If there's no tomorrow, who cares? You can't keep pulling pitchers in the 5th and 6th innings when they're rolling. You can't. You don't have it tomorrow. If you think that these owners have any loyalty to you or have any loyalty to these players, you're sadly mistaken. You need to keep guys in the game and rolling. The analytics people, they need to go away, especially when it comes to playoff time. If the guy's tired and he has the rest of the winter off, who cares? Who cares? If you got a chance to win, which the Mets do, they actually have a shot. I hate to say it, but they do. You can't be pulling these pitchers with the hopes of going on to the next round. You have to let them finish games. You have to let them be part of it. You can't just keep pulling pitchers because the nerds say so. It's going to come back to bite all these coaches, all these managers. Look what happened to Jays last year. Barrios, I think his name was. 4 scoreless, took him out, put Kikuchi in, I think it was, and that was it for the Jays. And that team's a mess. That team's an absolute mess, that Toronto Blue Jays team. 4th highest payroll in baseball, not even close to playoffs. Last in the American League East, I think. That team's a bloody mess. And it goes to their nerds and their analytics guys that are hired from Atkins and the other guy. That team's an absolute mess in Toronto, and they're gonna find it really hard to put people in that building next year because Toronto's a fickle fan base. They're a very fickle fan base. The last couple of years, they had the renovation to the old Sky Dome, which is Rogers Center now. People were coming just to see that, but that shiny new toy is done. People in Toronto they'll stop going. And if the Leafs can ever find themselves going into a bit of a playoff run, which it hasn't happened since 1993 or 94. But they'll get a rude awakening come April and May next year when the place is empty and your team stinks again. But let's get back to Major League Baseball. It's too bad because it's such a great game and it gets overshadowed by the NFL. And the NFL, I understand it's big because it's big. I get it. It's its own monster. But how a Brandon Ayuk non-trade became news over any Major League Baseball events in the last 2 weeks is beyond me. You think of everything went on in Major League Baseball in the last couple of weeks. You had Judge at 58, 59 home runs, chasing 60. I know it wasn't 62 going on, but you never know. Crickets. Unless you're a Yankee fan, it was crickets across baseball. Ohtani 50-50. You heard a little bit about it, but in general, it was crickets. You didn't hear anything about it. You had playoff races happening. You had the Detroit Tigers going to the playoffs for the first time in a long time. Going on a run like you wouldn't believe since the middle of August. Crickets. Major League Baseball has to figure this out. They have to figure out how to get younger fans and different people into the building and to watch it. The NFL, somebody farts, you hear about it. And I'm not an NFL guy. I haven't been apologetic about that at all. Not at all. I find the NFL just absolutely boring. Boring. The play has been subpar at best so far this season. It hasn't been good. I'm a college football guy. I'll watch college football all day long. The matchups and on it goes. The NFL is boring. Someone, like I just said, somebody farts, you hear about it in the NFL because it's everywhere. It's everywhere. Baseball had some fantastic storylines. Great storylines going in right now with the playoff matchups. You look at this. You have the Mets and the Phillies. Interdivision, American National League East rivals. Nothing. Nothing. Not a damn thing is talked about. Why? It's ridiculous. It's done so poorly. The way that they market this game, it's an absolute embarrassment to the athletes that play this great sport and the people who played in the past, and on it goes. You have the Yankees. They should have a clear run to the World Series right now. They really should. First time since 2009. They're playing the American League Central now. They're playing the Central. Cleveland's got a good team. Absolutely, I picked them to actually go to the World Series. Going to lose, but I picked Cleveland because they're bullpen to go to the World Series. So there's American League Central team. You have the Kansas City Royals, who are good. Bobby Witt Jr. and Sal Perez could do some damage. The Yankees are in a little. They got a series to play. They'll be a scrappy team. And Detroit, who came out of nowhere. So you have three American League Central teams that the Yankees have taken care of over the years, with the Minnesota Twins obviously being the Central team. The Yankees have taken care of them. Crickets. They're the biggest team in baseball, and nobody's talking about it, that they should be going. And I watch Yankees crap. It's not on TV. I don't understand why Major League Baseball always finds a way to not market themselves. You got to do deep dives into third-rate podcasts like this when I find any talk about baseball. I do not understand why they cannot get this right. It's the New York Yankees. It should be everywhere right now. And then you go to the West Coast, you got the Dodgers with down the coast playing the Padres, and the Padres are a good team. And until the Dodgers actually do something, I don't know if they're their favorite. Yes, they have the best player in baseball, second best player in baseball this year, because I think that the Judge is going to get the MVP over Ohtani, but Ohtani has that sexy 50-50 stat, obviously. But Judge he was a couple points away from winning the Triple Crown. That Dodger team, if they don't do it this time, I don't know if Dave Roberts survives this. I don't know if Roberts survives this. That San Diego team is really good. They're scrappy, and the thing is the Dodger Stadium's not even sold out. Not even sold out for the first game of the playoffs against the San Diego Padres. Padres fans might make the trek up the highway to watch that, but it's something. It's something that Major League Baseball just can't get it right. They got series that are just sexy and perfect and everything, and they got teams that haven't been there in a long time. They got future MVPs and Bobby Witt Jr. playing against the Yankees. You have the face of baseball in Ohtani. You have Aaron Judge. You have the Yankees trying to go back since 2009. You have so many storylines that could be told. Mets Phillies are going to be a fantastic series. There's a rivalry that goes back how many years? How many years that rivalry go back? And baseball just doesn't talk about it. Just doesn't talk about it. You can't get it. It goes against the NFL, like I said. Brandon Ayuk doesn't get traded. Oh, that's big news. Who cares? Who cares about week 3 of the NFL and that Joe Burrow stinks again? No kidding. Who cares that Trevor Lawrence stinks? No kidding. Been saying that since day one, Silken Lauman looking quarterback. So many non-storylines across the NFL, and it gets all the hype because it's big because it's big. Most popular kid in high school. That's all it is. Baseball's a great game in the playoffs. In the playoffs. And nobody cares. Although I'm going to a little party a little later on today to watch some baseball with some friends, so that'll be a lot of fun. They'll poke fun at me, that the Yankee fan. They'll make sure that I have a horrible time if the Yankees lose, which they very well could. Garrett Cole, you never know what you might get in the playoffs out of him. But let's not get this Yankee centric, anyways. I don't understand why the Major League Baseball did that this week, where they made sure that nobody could watch the games. I have a fortunate situation down here in my basement where I have 4 TVs set up right here down the Yankee Tavern North, so I could have put all the different games, all the different series on at once. Not everybody has access to 2 screens. Everybody's got a laptop, a computer, a phone, a tablet, and a TV. Everybody has at least access to 2 that they could put the game on their phone and put the game on a TV. Done, and then put a third on their laptop or whatever it might be. Everybody has access to screens, but Major League Baseball decides to put a game in the middle of the afternoon. Well, who can watch the damn thing? I don't understand. I do not understand why they continue to do that. I do not understand how they can continue to do that. I just don't understand. I don't understand. I will never. It's the playoffs. It's the bloody playoffs. Back It Up Binge podcast. Thanks for you guys are awesome. Get 162 games versus 18. Game 7 means nothing in baseball and football. It does. Slower moving game versus fast paced action. Major League Baseball is a summer game. People are more distracted. NFL fall sports. Perfect timing. I disagree. NFL's popular because it's popular. The NFL's popular because it's popular. NFL's popular because of fantasy football. Fantasy football run is bigger than the game. There's a couple people that at my local watering hole, 24 to 26 years old, they don't have a clue who's winning the games. They watch but they're involved in it, and they watch all the crap and they read all the crap because they're in fantasy football. They don't care who wins. That's why the red zone's so big. NFL's popular because it's popular. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger because they just push it down your face, push it down your face, push it down your face. Major League Baseball has to find a way to do that again. And you watch old videos. I mean, not old, like old, not like 30 years old ago when the Yankees were winning World Series out here and there. But you watch those old ones and how America's pastime was big. The Fall Classic was huge, and that's not too long ago. It's not. It's a different paced environment. I get that. It's a different game. Everything's different now. I get that. But the way the game is played now, it's just different. The strikeouts all the time, and I get it. Sometimes it can be a little bit boring, but when it gets down to the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, even the other night, I was pins and needles watching that Mets game. How they came back the home run and the Alonso home run in the 9th. It was amazing. It's the only sport that has that kind of drama. Baseball has to figure out how to find a way to get it done. Has to find a way to get more eyes on this bloody game because it is beautiful and it's getting wasted. And we are watching some of the greatest players of all time play right now, and nobody cares, and nobody knows. And I'm around ballparks. I work at a ballpark. I'm around ball players every day. They never talk about their favorite player. You know what they were talking about the other day? Their fantasy teams. They're talking about their fantasy teams. These are college baseball players. They aren't watching games. No, they're not. These are baseball players. This is on baseball. They had a great opportunity this year to have the Judge and Ohtani and everything else going, and they just didn't do it. They just didn't talk about it. And it's absolutely remarkable to me that it's turned out this way. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Anyways, we'll talk. I could talk about this forever. Forever. Like I said earlier on, for those who are just tuning in, college football doesn't. They stagger the odd game here and there, but if it's a 2:00 on a Saturday, that's what Notre Dame plays. They don't care about who. If Boise's playing, if USC's playing, this is what time we play. This is tradition. We leave it here. If there's other games overlapping, oh well. This is our tradition. This is when we do it. Because people will watch their regional team. People will watch their favorite team. They might tune in later on. They might to a team that they don't follow if it's a big game. But baseball is the same way. It's a regional sport. They have to realize this, that they're not going national until it's the big dance, until it's the World Series. That's when you could maybe play a game in the afternoon, but they don't have to. Play tonight. Play the games when they're supposed to be played, so every fan of that team has a chance to watch the damn thing. Don't put it on because you think someone's going to watch. Because you know what? They're not. They're not. Put it on when they can watch it. Not when you hope they would, because they can't. Pretty simple. To take a rocket appliance to do this anyways. Here it is. I was going to talk about this Back It Up binge. Think Rose should be finally put in the Hall of Fame. The thing is about, and this is down on my notes. This wasn't a one-off or just going off on a tangent about Rose. I don't think that Pete Rose is ever going to get in the Hall of Fame, just for the simple reason. It wasn't a lifetime ban, because if it was a lifetime ban, he'd be in because his life's over. I mean, is that too soon for that joke? But what it was permanent ineligibility. which is a different lawyer speak of the way that is. I don't think he's ever going to get in. I think he, as a player, absolutely, as a what he did on the field before a player, and every talk about this story, and it's been probably talked about later on tonight when I'm around my buddies talking about Pete Rose. And as soon as you want to start a good conversation, you just bring up the name Pete Rose, and it goes from there. And my friend Jim, the fan of the van, he had a great podcast yesterday. He summed it up pretty much perfectly. We have a different opinion about this, how it's all going to pan out. But I don't think that Pete Rose will ever get in the Hall of Fame. I think what he did was with the gambling thing was atrocious. I've been watching that HBO documentary about a few more things that Pete Rose did that wasn't very becoming of a human being, let alone of a professional athlete. Pete Rose, his numbers, obviously the all-time hit king, it'll never be touched. Never ever, the way the game is played now and the way the off days and this on and on it goes. But Pete Rose was for all intent and purpose, and might be a lofty statement, Pete Rose is an awful human being. He's an awful human being, and the stuff that he did to people and the way he was screwing people over and a consummate liar. And Pete Rose never got out of his own way in his later years when he could have apologized. He could have maybe not live in Vegas where the gambling is. And yes, there is gambling now in across all sports and Bet MGM this and Bet US this and Bodog this and whatever it might be. There's always another gambling commercial on, but this is the past, and it was always known. I remember when I went to professional umpire school back in '97, the very first thing they told you is, "Don't bet on baseball." It's on every single locker room wall throughout baseball, from the low A right to the major leagues. Don't bet on baseball, and Pete Rose did. He flat out did. And there's different conspiracy theories aside that Pete Rose signed that permanently ineligible thing without much contesting. Without much contesting to Giamatti. And Giamatti died a few months later. And but there wasn't much pushback from Pete Rose because he knew he was in a heap of trouble with some other things. There was statutory rape charges that were against him. There was infidelities against him, and people didn't really know about all this stuff. There wasn't the TMZ world and the Twitter world, everything else, and there was no such thing as camera phones obviously back then. So there was a lot of secrets that could be held, and there was a lot of things that couldn't be talked about, and you wouldn't know unless you were inside that inner circle. And now people chirp like canaries on for these HBO documentaries that the muscle bound steroid guy and cocaine and everything that was going on, that Pete Rose they were trafficking that. But I think Pete Rose took that permanent ineligibility for a reason. I think he took it for the simple fact that there could have been a lot more secrets that came out that would have tarnished his image even more. And because it's one thing to cheat on base, not to cheat, to bet on baseball, but when you start getting accused of statutory rape and you start getting accused of liking young girls, and there's these rumors going about drug trafficking and different kinds of stories that were going around. Pete Rose, this is conspiracy. This is a 1420 original down here at 10:54 on a Saturday morning before the playoffs start. But I think Pete Rose signed that permanent eligibility thing without much contesting it because he knew that bigger trouble could have came out, and he didn't want that stuff to come out. He wanted to keep that stuff quiet, and that's why he didn't really fight anything. And that's why I think Pete Rose is never going to get in the Hall of Fame. I think that there's a lot more things that are behind closed doors that are never going to get talked about. And that's why I think that Rose will never get in. And because Ty Cobb, he wasn't a very nice person either, but there's a lot of situations where these guys could find themselves where they're not unbecoming as human beings. So that's why as a baseball player, absolutely he's a Hall of Famer. As a human being, he's not. And I think integrity and character and on it goes. And with the wrestler, I think that has to be a part of who you are as a baseball player. Cheating on the sport is he wasn't cheating, but he never bet his team to lose. And yeah, that's a thing. But he could also set the lineups that it would work. He could set the lineups where it would, we're going to get blown out this day, so this reliever A is not going to play, and this guy's not going to play, and I'll put this guy in here. I'll put this guy in here. So if he had money down on a game, did he manage a little bit differently? Probably. How many of those teams weren't very good? Because if you lose 2 out of 3, it's hard to get swept. So you put money down in game 3, maybe you have a better chance of winning. Like, how many teams lose 3 out of 3? Rose is a piece of scum. Hell of a ball player. Charlie Hustle played the game hard, on and on and on it goes. But Pete Rose is not a Hall of Famer. He cheated the game. He was an indecent human being. That's why I don't think Pete Rose. You hate to speak solemnly against a guy who just passed away, and he hates to say ill of the dead. And I hope no one does that when my old bones finally hit the grave. But he's not a Hall of Famer because you got to have integrity. You got to have some kind of a decent character of a human being, and Pete Rose isn't that kind of guy. And that's why he'll never be a Hall of Famer. And that's my opinion. I'm entitled to it, I guess. But that's my thoughts. I was asked about it by a number of people this week about Pete Rose because he passed away. He had a good pitch the day before, some guys in the Big Red Machine, and they didn't do a whole bunch of winning either when it comes down to it. But that's my thoughts on Rose in the Hall of Fame. Baseball playoffs really get going today. Like I said, it should be a lot of fun to watch. There's 4 games today. Actually get a chance to watch them because they staggered them. There's one that might overlap a little bit, but in general, they stagger the games. So you get to watch all of them today. Should be a lot of fun. Cleveland, Detroit. I'm taking Cleveland to win this series. Their bullpen's too good, but a Detroit team, and this is all these teams, American League Central. They're playing with house money. They're playing nothing to lose. Well, I hate using that statement, nothing to lose, because you can lose a series. You lose a series, your season's over. But in general, like the Yankees have everything to lose. They have a chance to go to the World Series. A pretty decent path. I don't want to say a clear path because these teams are playoff teams. And but they had the 2 best teams in the American League got knocked out this week in the Baltimore Orioles and Detroit Tigers, or not Detroit Tigers, the Houston Astros. They both got knocked out, so there is a bit of a path here for the Yankees to get back to World Series, the first World Series since 2009. And if they don't do it, then when? If they don't do it this year, they ain't going to do it next year, because these teams are going to get better and better and better as they go on. But I think that Cleveland's going to beat the Tigers. I think it's going to go up be a 5-game series. That Detroit team is scrappy. They've been the best team in baseball, and A.J. Hinch has been a manager, won some World Series with the Houston Astros, obviously. And it was kind of poetic justice when Detroit beat Houston the other day in Houston, and you seen it became the whipping boy for the garbage can situation. He ended up being the guy that got himself kicked out of Houston and got fired, and took all the heat for all those players. They threw him under the bus. But you seen he was a little bit of retribution, holding up his hand when he was leaving the field out down there in Houston. But I think Cleveland's going to win that series. Their bullpen is unbelievable. That Class A kid is unstoppable out of the bullpen. Royals, Yankees. I'd say the Yankees probably should win that 1-5. But Bobby Witt Jr. and Sal Perez, if they can stop Perez and Witt, but Witt's a hell of a player, so you never know what you're going to get out of that. But the Yankees should win that series. They are the most talented team in the American League, the most talented team almost in baseball, and they really should get it done this week, and get themselves into the ALCS. Mets, Phillies. Philly's been unstoppable all year, but the Mets are on a bit of a miracle run themselves, and OMG, LFMG, LFG, I'm sorry. They have a shot. You know what? I'm taking the Mets to win that 1-5. And then Padres, Dodgers. I'm going to take the Padres. I'd rather see the Dodgers win. I'd like to see a Dodgers-Yankees World Series for the first time since 77 or 78, whatever it was. But I think that, or was it the 80s? They all kind of roll into one at this time in my life. But I think that it's going to be the Padres are going to win that series. They're a team that's hungry. They're a team that's been there. And this might be the swan song, like I said earlier on, for Dave Roberts and the crew over there with the Los Angeles Dodgers. So there's my predictions for the divisional series. It's been a fun show this morning. We've got to get a little word from our friends at SeatGeek, and then we'll get down to today's On This Day, and we'll get you guys out of here.
SeatGeek presents Boomstick Lady. SeatGeek helps her find the perfect seat so she can sit where her boomsticks make the biggest boom. Oh, okay. SeatGeek handles the tickets so fans can fan.
All right, thanks to our friends at SeatGeek. Remember, we have changed our promo code to 1420SEAT. That's 1420 SEAT, just like SeatGeek, at SeatGeek.com today, and save yourself $20 on your first purchase. Yeah, like I said, we had our old code compromised a little bit, to say the least. There's Russian bots or something. I shouldn't blame the Russians for everything, but it's easy to blame the Russians, right? All those Russians, like Boney M said all those years ago. Let's get to On This Day, and we'll call her a day.
Solo shot ties Griffey Jr. Solo shot ties Griffey Jr. and Reggie Jackson's record, 5 home runs in a playoff series. Derek Jeter grounds to Dean Palmer, but instead of throwing home to cut off a run, they get the force at second. It's 4-3 Texas. First, only a 1-run lead, 4-3 Rangers. Bernie Williams connects. Home run to right off Roger Pavlik, who struggled down the stretch to tie it at 4, and here we go. Top 7. Cecil Field, a 2-2 pitch. Not a home run, but it's a single. He'll take it. That scores Tim Raines, 5-4 New York. Johnny Oates went to the pen 7 times on the day. The last one, Mike Stanton. Top 9, Yanks going for some insurance, and it's Williams again cashing in with a policy. Does it again, this time the left field. So he homers from both sides of the plate.
Yeah, there it is on this day in 96. That's when it all started for the Yankees. Those great Yankee teams. I know they spent a lot of money, but they also had some pretty, like I said earlier on, resilient teams that were fun to watch. And you still got to win the games, and that's what the Yankees did. Joe Torre and the guys cut going on this day in 1996. Thank you very much who listened to the show today or watched later on. We appreciate all the support we get. If you're going to a game this weekend or later on next week, go to SeatGeek, use our promo code. Make sure you check out our friend over there, Fan of the Van. He had a great rant about, not rant, more of a chat about Pete Rose. It was one of the better shows that he's done in a long time. So he's had a few bangers in the last little bit, actually. So I shouldn't say that. But Jim, thank you for entertaining me on the mornings on my way to work. Greatly appreciated. That's it. 1420 Sports Bar Podcast. 4 Beer Sports, talking a whole lot more. More content coming your way. I'm actually going to start doing a post-game Yankee report the next morning or that night, all depending on what I got going on after the game. So after every Yankee playoff game, hopefully it's a long run. I'm going to have my thoughts on the New York Yankees playoff series or that game for that night, shot live from the Yankee Tavern North here in Lethbridge, Alberta. There it is. There's 1420 in the morning. Brought to you by SeatGeek. Remember, it doesn't matter where you are, it's who you're with. Have yourselves a great day, folks. We'll talk to you tomorrow. You just listened to the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast. 4 Beer with Sports, talking a whole lot more. We are part of the Belly Up Media Network. Let's get into it.